Hello Positive Readers, it's Positive Writer here today with another video. And today I'm going to be telling you all about my favorite movies of all 2020. I almost said 2019, that's how fast this year has gone by. But I've watched a whole bunch of movies this year. I have an entire list on Letterboxd, and I think it's about 125 movies and counting. So I've watched a whole bunch of movies this year, probably some I don't even remember watching and haven't put on the list, a whole bunch of crap. But I watched so many of them, and I actually found so many new favorites this year. You know, it was like I had so much time to watch them, and I watched so many. So now I have like a whole bunch of new favorites, something like bumped something else down on my favorite movies list ever. It was just like a lot going on, but in the best way possible. I didn't obviously not watch every single, like, you know what I'm saying, all good movies. But, you know, there was a strong lack of bad ones. So, and the good ones were like the best thing ever. So anyway, without further ado, I want to talk about them today. 15 is my minimum number for all of my favorites lists, because I watch so much stuff that I don't want to leave anything out if I don't have to. And movies especially, there were so many this year that I really wanted to give the props to as many as I could. So there are 15 on this list. Before we mention any of them though, I wanted to honorable mention the entire Hunger Games film series. I watched it earlier this year because my sister read all the books, and I've never watched, I watched the Hunger Games the first one, and then I watched a little bit of Catching Fire in like school a long time ago. But I've never really like sat down and really paid attention and watched the series. But this time I did, and it was just like the best thing I've ever watched in my life. It was unique, it was amazing, it was far ahead of its time to have been from like a book written in 2008. And then the movies were like the first big YA dystopian movie franchise that ever got adapted. And then it was like the blueprint for those two. Honestly, one of the best film series I've ever seen in my life. One of the best adaptations I've ever seen in my life. It really did the books justice, even though I've only read the first one. My sister definitely can vouch for it better because she's read all three multiple times, and she has said multiple times that the movies were just as good. And I have to give them their props because I love the movies so much, and I'm getting into the series, and I cannot wait to tell you guys all the stuff that I just love so much about the series. It's so beautiful, like the characters are so unique, the story is so unique, the relationships are unique. I just adore it, you know, to have been the first real dystopian novel that got any traction as far as YA goes. It really is like the best one, you know. And I can't believe I ignored it all those years because people would put Divergent in it against each other, and I decided to go with Divergent for whatever reason, and so that ended up being my team or whatever. But I don't have to have a team. I think the Hunger Games is better, and I will tell you guys why. But anyway, now let's get into the actual list, because I have 15 movies on here, and I love them a lot, so I'm probably going to be talking for a minute. The first movie is number 15, which is Back to the Future. I finally watched Back to the Future this year, and then later on watched all three movies multiple times. Way too much, but it was really, really fun. And yeah, it was really just the best experience. It's a great film series, and it's really funny. It's amazing. I love in the first film especially, I just love them. I love the movies. You know, it's just really, really funny again. It's like really fun. I'll tell you guys what it's about. It's about this guy named Marty McFly and this other guy named Doc. And they kind of like know each other kind of weirdly, you know? Like you wouldn't expect some high school dude and then this genius scientists to know each other, but they do. And basically the scientist is trying to come up with a time machine out of his car, which is a DeLorean, and he ends up figuring it out, and then they have to go to the past and they have to go back to the future. So that's what it's about, and it's a great movie. It's like I didn't expect any of the plots to happen because I surprisingly really didn't have any spoilers, even though it's been around for like 35 years this year. So yeah, honestly, it's just insane. But it was really good. It's really funny. It's become like a household thing in my house now because like we watched it so many times. Like the second I showed it to my family, it became like instantly hooked because my mom had seen it already, but my sisters had not. So yeah, it just became like a thing, and now we quote it all the time. Really, really funny. Like it was great. It's great. Had a great time with that one. Number 14 is Flowers in the Attic, which was just the 2014 version, not the 80s first version adaptation of it, which I also love, which I also watched this year. But no, the 2014 version has to be on here because I watched it, and I was very wary because first off, it's a Lifetime movie, and Lifetime just is not known for actually good quality movies. And I also liked the 80s one better, so I was already biased because I've seen that one about like 2 or 3 times, but it had a big impact on me, and what told me motivated me to read the book and all this. So I was a little bit, and then I watched it, and my sister came in, and we like watched it together. And I was like hating on it the entire time, but for some reason it just really stuck, and we ended up watching it like 30 times this year. Like it's honestly ridiculous. Like the amount of time we watched Back to the Future, all 3 of those, it's probably like double the time that we watched Flowers in the Attic. Well, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Because it was just so funny for some reason. It was so good. Also, like the quality that I got was really, really good, and the 50s aesthetic that they had going on was really, really nice. I think Lifetime did a great job with that movie. Honestly, like it's the best Lifetime movie I've ever seen. And it was just really good. I think it was a good adaptation. Like, the acting was great. It was good. It was just really, really good and really, really funny. And it just became something like you know, it's kind of a sad story, but it really just became kind of a joke to me and my sister, and it's just really, really funny. And we ended up watching the rest of the series, because Lifetime decided to adapt all of them, and the rest of them were not good at all. And we got some good laughs out of that one, out of those too. So, at least we got some really good laughs. But the first movie especially, we still think about it. We kind of just kept watching it, and it's become like a very, very aesthetic mood type thing. That's really weird to explain because it's really, really funny and something that I think about, I guess, a lot, but just something that I watched a lot this year. The next one is number 13, which is The Impossible. I watched this for the first time this year, and then later on with my family, and it's honestly like a great movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever because it was just magnificent, and it's based off a real family too, so I just think it was amazing, honestly. Like, the title kind of says it all. I didn't really explain what Flowers in the Attic was about, but The Impossible is about this family who goes vacationing in Thailand, and then all of a sudden there's this gigantic tsunami, and it's catastrophic, and basically it's this family, and basically follows them trying to find their way back to each other and survive and stuff in the aftermath of this gigantic tsunami. And it was just it was cinematic, it was amazing, it was nerve-wracking. I had so much anxiety like watching the movie. It's just, I felt like I was there. It was just amazing. I love the family, love the actors in it. Like, there were some people in there that I love, like that I love the movies of, like namely Naomi Watts. She's one of my favorite actresses ever. And Tom Holland's great too. It was just a really great movie, and I really enjoyed myself. So that's definitely on this list. The next one is number 12, which is Psycho 4. Psycho 4, like, I found out about this movie by accident. If you don't know me at all, I am in love with Bates Motel. Not in love. Bates Motel and me are like married. We're like the same person. You know, like, we're like the same person. It's not a person. But me and Bates Motel, the TV show, are like one and the same. I have them tattooed on my wrists. Which sets the chord, which is a part of my favorite quote from the show. There's a chord between our hearts. And it's just my favorite show ever. Ever since I watched it in 2019, my life has never been the same. I do things every single day that have to do with the series. Anyway, I'm going on a rant, or a rave, or whatever. You see the sign in the back. Okay. But Psycho 4, because Psycho is the predecessor to Bates Motel. It basically is based off of this 1960s horror movie called Psycho. And they continue to make sequels afterwards, and yeah, and eventually the TV show. But Psycho 4 was one I had never seen. I watched the first one, watched the second one. The first one's phenomenal, classic. The second one was like, okay, it was good. The third one I really don't have any interest in watching, and definitely not the remake. But Psycho 4 was always kind of escaped me. I didn't really know it existed. I didn't really think about it. It's called The Beginning. And I'm like, okay, cool, over here. Then all of a sudden somebody made like an Instagram edit of it, and I was like, wait a second. Like, I saw some things in there, and I was like, so this movie has been serving content this whole time, and I didn't know about it. So I had to watch it. And I watched it, and it was just amazing, honestly. It was just beautiful. The parts of the movie that shine the most are, because it's called The Beginning, and it's about Norman Bates, and it's about his kind of childhood and growing up with Norma, and when she was like alive, so it like flashes back. I love the way the movie is done, because it's basically like Norman as an adult talking to a radio station lady who basically is talking about boys that killed their moms, and she's basically having people call in and explain why they did it or whatever. And so Norman calls in, and there's all this stuff going on, but like basically the best parts of the movie obviously are the beginning parts, the origins parts, the parts with Norman and Norma, obviously. So I just love the movie. I loved it. It was amazing. Okay, it's directed by Mick Garris, which has quickly become one of my favorite directors ever. Mick Garris, he directed 2 other movies, one other that I have not seen yet. Well, not 2 other movies, but 2 other movies that I'm very interested in watching or have seen already and liked. He directed Sleepwalkers, which was absolutely ridiculous. I also watched that this year, but it was really funny, and I loved it. Like, honestly, it's like the most garbage thing I've ever said that I love, but I love it. And then there's another one that I don't know the name of, but it's fine. I'll watch that one day soon. But yeah, he directed both of those. He's just kind of a connoisseur of everything that I love to watch, and so I love him. And so the movie, honestly, it was just amazing. And so yeah, I really enjoyed myself. I'm talking too much about this, I know. But I really just loved it, and it kind of astonished me, the amount of stuff that they did in the movie. I loved it. Anyway, the next one is number 11, which is 2012. And 2012 is amazing. It didn't even come out in 2012. But it's basically about the end of the world, because people used to say the end of the world was going to be in 2012. And so basically it's a movie about the world ending in 2012. It starts off in 2009 and basically leads up to the actual end of the world and all the stuff that comes with that. And it was magnificent. This movie is like the longest movie I've ever seen. It's like 2 hours and 30 minutes or something. And it's just one of my favorite movies ever. It was just the perfect thing to watch in this time that we're living in right now. And the type of person that I am, I really just enjoyed it so much. It was just, it felt like so big and just epic. It was just phenomenal. Yeah, it was just amazing. Like, I cried. It was just a really, really great movie. And I've seen it already, but it was like watching it for the first time. It was just magnificent. I watched a lot of apocalyptic type world-ending movies this year. You can guess why. But this one stood out the most. I loved it so much. And I definitely recommend it. If you're looking for anything apocalyptic, like out of all the apocalyptic movies I've seen, that one is the best one for sure. The beginning is a little slow, but you need the beginning to kind of understand what's going on and what ends up happening in the rest of the movie. Anyway, yeah, watch that movie if you haven't yet. Next one is number 10, which is Hurricane Heist. I've seen this movie already, but I watched it again this year, and phenomenal. I love the movie so much. Again, with this apocalyptic type vibe, because it's about this bank robbery kind of going on at this it's this random like backwoods Alabama town, and basically this town is not only known for natural disasters, but they also basically have this bank here that they kind of bring money to every day or whatever, or every month, or I forgot the actual cycle. But basically, there's going to be this big storm, and they all kind of know it's going to be a storm, so these people who are like thieves are going to go and steal this money, because basically the money goes here to kind of get, you know, thrown out or whatever, because people don't need it for some reason. And so these people are going to go steal the money, because they're like, why let this money go to waste? So that's what they're going to do. The main characters are these two brothers who are not the robbers, and they basically are kind of estranged. Their father died in like a accident that was a natural disaster back in the day, and they kind of are estranged, but they kind of get roped into the whole thing with the heist, because in this small town. And it's just a great movie, honestly. Like, it's a hurricane, and then the hurricane obviously comes, and it's just the best thing ever. I love the movie so much. Like, I love any movies about brothers, and this is one of my favorite ones for sure. I love everything about it, like the relationship between them. I love the robbers. Like, I love, you know, the anxiety of it, the suspense, the action. It was just a great movie. And then obviously the hurricanes craziness. I just love movies like this, and they kind of like put in everything I love about movies, period. So yeah, I really like this one, and it's definitely there's no surprise that it's number 2 on the list. The next one is number 9, and that's Pet Sematary 2. Pet Sematary 2 is one of my favorite movies ever. Like, if you were to ask me like my top 10 favorite movies, it would be on the list. And I just love it so much. Everybody hates it. Again, a lot of these movies, everybody hates. And it's really funny, but anyway, I don't care. I love the movie so much, and I rewatched it this year, and it was just phenomenal again. It's one of those movies that's just really funny. It's really funny. Like, it's a horror movie, but I'm not afraid at all. I'm just really funny. I'm laughing the whole time. It's basically, it's the sequel to Pet Sematary 1. I have no idea if it has any correlation, because I really have no interest in watching the first one, or the remake. But the second one, completely fire. They just decided to kind of just do everything I love again. It's about this father and son who basically they lose the wife and mom, and she like dies in the beginning of the movie. And it's kind of about Pet Sematary, and you know, all the stuff that comes with that, and yeah, I'm not gonna like spoil it or anything, but yeah, it's just a really funny movie, and I mean, it makes me feel happy. It's just kind of a great movie. It's kind of just dumb, and I like it. I think it's pretty cool. And then we have number 8, which is Life in a Day. I loved Life in a Day. Life in a Day is a documentary type YouTube movie about, basically, it's not even about anything. It's kind of just showing the lives of people on this specific day in 2010. And fun fact, they did it again this year, and I did not get chosen, I don't think. I did submit footage, but I didn't get chosen. It's fine. I cannot wait to see it for this year. But anyway, yes. And YouTube basically has people from around the world send in video of what they do on this one day. It's in July. I don't remember the exact day. I'm pretty sure it's like the 24th or something. And yeah, it was like a 2012 type vibe, but without all the apocalypse stuff. It was just beautiful. There are no words to kind of describe this film except beautiful, because the type of person I am, again, I'm very people-oriented, I'm very empathetic, and I'm very understanding and open-minded. So to see so many different people living their lives in all these different ways I've never even seen or heard of before was just astonishing. Like, the film came on, like, it started, and I immediately just sobbed because, like, I saw a mom and a baby. Like, it was too much for me. I just knew, like, whoever edited it, they just knew what they were doing. Like, they started it off and they ended it off, and, like, the music they used and the quotes they used from the different people. And I just think it was just the best thing ever. And to be made by people like me around the world, like, not filmmakers, just not necessarily filmmakers, just people who just live in their lives. Just beautiful. It was just astonishing. It really makes you kind of take a step back and look at the whole human race as a whole, and kind of appreciate everybody for their differences. And for the similarities too. It was just amazing. Number 7 is Nowhere Boy. I love this movie so much. I watched this movie because it was on Netflix and I knew it was about a mother and son, which I love movies about mother and sons. So I was like, I gotta watch this. And then I started watching it, and it was just like one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. And it turns out it's about John Lennon, and his mom and aunt, and his kind of life as a teenager. And I had no idea. Like, I had not the slightest. I read the whole thing, like the blurb. I read the blurb because I had to know what it was about. But John Lennon's name completely escaped me. And I was just like, okay, cool. Anyway, though, I watched the whole movie and then figured that out afterwards. But the movie is about him, and it's about him kind of like reconnecting with his mom. It was just so beautiful. The movie is shot so nicely. And it was just like the colors, everything, the music. It was amazing. Honestly, like, there's no other way to say it. And I kind of watched it almost before quarantine kind of started, and it kind of just always signals for me very happy. You know, it made me cry at several parts, but it was just a really nice movie. And, you know, I just thought it was phenomenal. It was just really, really good. The next one is number 6, which I hate to have this number 6 on the list, but it's only because I rewatched all of my top 4 favorite movies this year, so it had to be somewhere lower than them. But anyway, the number 6 is Loverboy, and the reason why I'm going on all this spiel about this is because I adore this movie. And honestly, I adore all of these, but this is just a kind of a special one. It's kind of like in a class by itself, because it's so unique and nothing's ever been done like it, and there are so many things about it that are just kind of unique to it. And I found it looking for my Amazon movies again, but it's so much more than, it's not even so much more than that, but it's just such a beautiful take on the thing, because it's about this woman who it's about this woman who, in her past, when she was a little girl, her parents were so in love with each other that they neglected her emotionally. And they kind of ignored her and kind of just wanted her to be the best, but without giving her any nurturing at all. So she always kind of felt ignored and unloved. And, yeah. And basically now she is an adult, and now she has a son. And she just gives him all the love in the world. Like, and then some. Like, she's the most loving parent you've ever seen. She's very overprotective, you know, over-obsessive. Just like, you know what I'm saying, the biggest mom you will ever see. Like, she puts the mom in mom, you know? Like, and I love the movie so much. I knew I was going to like it, but I didn't know I was going to adore it. And I did. It's just a beautiful film about, like, you know, what happens when people love people too much, which I don't think that exists at all, you know. I don't think you can love anybody too much, because, you know, it's like, obviously find a balance, don't do too much. But I just think that it's never seen, you know. You never see somebody over loving someone else. You usually see somebody just pulling back and not having any, you know, emotional neglect, abuse, or something like this. You never see somebody just putting all their love into another person. And I just thought it was amazing. I love the mom, sympathize with her, I love her. I love them. I love the whole movie, and I read the book, and you will definitely be hearing about the book in my favorite books of the year video, just FYI. But yeah, I just loved it. It's one of my favorite movies ever now. It's one of my favorite stories ever now. Like, every time I think about it, I just kind of want to consume it again, even though it makes me so sad. So yeah, that's it. Number 5, we have the top 5 now. Number 5, another movie. These top 5 movies are movies I think about like 24/7. Especially this one right here, because it really hit me hard. Kind of like Loverboy, but a little bit more. Because I could relate to the character more. And this movie is Mirrorbone. This movie I tried to watch a couple years ago. I think it was, a couple years ago, I'm pretty sure. And because I love any movie about siblings, and it's about siblings. It's basically about this guy with his siblings. And this guy with 3 younger siblings, and their mom kind of takes them to this place. They kind of go to this new area or whatever, and they are in this house, and she's kind of like, you know, now everything's new. You know, when we cross this threshold of this house, everything's new. We're leaving the past behind. You don't obviously know what this past is, but they're just kind of living their lives or whatever. And it's basically about them because the mom gets sick and she dies, and so they kind of have to fend for themselves or whatever in this house until the oldest brother is 21, so that he can like adopt and fully guardian the kids basically. And the movie is amazing. Like, just saying that much isn't enough because the movie is so magnificent, and you can't say anything else without spoiling it. So I just won't. It's like a horror movie because like the kids start to experience some pretty sinister stuff going on in the house. Like, it's like really weird and like thuds and stuff. So yeah, it's a horror movie. Didn't even mention that, but yeah, it's a horror movie. And yes, I love it. I love the movie so much. I'm smiling right now because the movie makes me cry, like, every time. Like, I think about it, and I want to watch it so bad again. I want to. I'm so connected to the story and the main character, Jack. I'm so connected to him. You, like, have no idea. And I want to watch it every time I think about it. But then I'm like, do you want to be hurt like that again? No. So I just will not. But the movie's magnificent. It's just beautiful. I love the coloring on the movie. Like, the tint is just amazing. I just love the storyline. The music is just like the best movie ever. Like, it isn't, but it is. You know, like, it's just amazing. I love the movie so much. And it, you know, there's no surprises on this list. I love it. And I think about it a lot, and it hit me hard. Number 4 on the list is MidSummer. This freaking movie, I watched this last year, and I watched it again this year. I watched all my top 4 favorite movies once this year. Except for one of them. I'll get to that. But yeah. And because my favorite movies, I don't like to watch a lot of the time because I think it's so beautiful to kind of just sit down once in a while and appreciate it. Because it's always with me. I always think about these, and I'm inspired by these and stuff like this. But watching them over and over again, I don't know. I just, you know what I'm saying? I think it's more magical when I don't watch it all the time. But anyway, I watched the movie last year, then went back and watched the director's cut. This movie astonished me. Like, the second I heard about it, I was like, I had to watch this. The trailer was amazing. The movie was amazing. The director's cut was amazing. And it was even more amazing when I watched it the 3rd time. I just love the movie very much. And I actually watched it 4 times because I watched it with my dad. It's just a great movie. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's about, the movie's basically about this man and this woman who are in this relationship. And the relationship is a little rocky, you know what I'm saying? It's a little rocky, and the girl kind of has a lot of stuff going on. And the guy is just kind of trying to deal with that and kind of like support her, but he also is kind of sick of her. And the friends are like, oh my god, break up with her or whatever. And basically, his friends decide to go on a trip to Sweden because one of their friends from college is basically a native, and all his family's there, and they're having this MidSummer festival. So he's like, you should all come. And Danny, which is the girl, she wants to come. And so they all go to Sweden for the MidSummer Festival. I adore this movie so very much. It's just beautiful. You know, it is a horror movie, and it's all shot in, like, daylight, and I think that's just magnificent. Apparently, Ari Aster thought to put white borders on it instead of black. I just think the movie's amazing. I love it. Like, there's too many things to say about this movie. I just think the cinematography was just beautiful. Not one mainstream song was used. It was all very tribal, like very cultural to the time, to the place, to Sweden songs. I just loved it so much. I could just like eat the entire movie. I just think it's amazing, and it's great, and I love it. Now we're going on to the number 3 spots. Number 3, I can't wait to talk about this because I've never talked about this on this channel before. It's never come up. And this year is the first time I watched it, and it shot completely immediately up on my favorite movies list. I usually have 4, like I said, and I'm not sure what the other 4 was because it doesn't even matter anymore. This now has surpassed MidSummer, so think about that for a second. And this movie is I Killed My Mother, directed by Xavier Dolan, which is my favorite director ever now. And there's nothing, like, there are too many things to say. This movie was just magnificent. I heard about it because I watched his movie Mommy first. And I liked it a lot, but I didn't love it. You know, it wasn't like the best movie I've ever seen, and there was some things I didn't like about it. But then I saw like an edit of both of these movies, and I'm like, for real? I always like kind of heard about it. I know he does a lot of movies with like moms and sons. So I'm like, my boy, like, we're like the same person, you know? So I know I'm going to get around to watching all his movies at one point, but there was a reason why this one got moved up before the rest of them. First off, it's called I Killed My Mother. That immediately sounds like, for real, you did? You know, I immediately am interested in that. And I also keep seeing edits and stuff about it that makes it kind of seem like I don't know what's going on. And I want to find out. So I watched it. And there's kind of no words. This movie, like I talked about Jack and Maribone and stuff like this. But this protagonist is probably the most connected protagonist I've ever felt as far as any movie. Like, I've never felt more connected to any protagonist other than this guy right here, Humbert. I forgot his name. But he's amazing, and I just love the movie. And it's basically about this boy who is living with his mom, and he's like 17 years old. And they have a very rocky relationship. She's very aloof and kind of forgets everything he says, and very, you know, I don't know, I guess emotionally unavailable would be the best way to kind of describe her. She kind of just never really there in the moment. Like, he'll say something and then she's like, what? You know, every time. And then, you know, he'll say, and he is a very passionate, very intense person. So he kind of is always just yelling at her, and even if he's not yelling at her, very wanting her to just kind of react or say something, you know, wanting her to be present in these moments and be just as passionate as him. And she kind of just isn't, you know. They clash a lot, and it's a lot of that. And I think the movie is just absolutely, like, magnificent. I've said that so many times, but I think the movie is just amazing. And Xavier, he wrote the script when he was, like, in his teens, and like, he started the movie, like, in his teens. He believed in the movie. Like, when no one else did, he believed in it, and he made it. And I just think it's so beautiful. I just think it's so sad. It really does hurt me because of how much I am connected and relate to the main character. And his relationship with his mother is just, like, so... Ooh, it's just like, it really hurts. But I think the movie's just great, and I love it. And there's a reason it's third on the list. It's just, like, the best movie. Like, I love it. And it's amazing. And I love Xavier's, the style he does for his movies, like, the style, the vibe. I really just love him. So, this is my favorite movie by him. It probably will always be. I just think the movie is astonishing. And now we're moving on to the top 2 spots. And number 2 is 3 Generations. This movie, I first watched in 2017, changed my life, and then I watched it again 30,000 times because I love the movie so much, and it's one of those movies that I just can't watch anytime because it hurts me, but it also makes me feel really, really good, and it makes me feel hopeful, and it makes me really, really happy. And it's kind of a comfort movie if I'm being honest. Like, it's the only movie on this list that I've rewatched a lot, other than, like, the first 2, and it's not like a jokey rewatch. It's like a rewatch that makes me feel really, really good. It's set in New York, which is my favorite place ever, and I watched it before I went to New York, but then I went, and now I love it even more. It has, it's about this trans boy who's basically living his life, and he wants to start his hormones, and his mom is a little bit on the fence about it. His grandma's, like, transphobic and unsupportive, and so he's kind of, like, trying to navigate his teen years, not teen years, but teen time period, and, you know, in the midst of all this other stuff, he really wants his hormones, and so it's kind of like his mom trying to figure out whether or not she wants to sign the papers and stuff like this. And I just think the movie is great. A lot of people hate it again. I love the movie so much. I think it's amazing. I love the acting, the storyline. I just really love it. It makes me smile, it makes me want to sob. I love the movie. And it's called 3 Generations because he's the youngest generation, and then his mother is the next generation, and then her mother is the next generation. And all 3 of these actresses, because the boy unfortunately is played by a woman, and it's Elle Fanning, which I'm not even hating on her at all. I love Elle Fanning so much, and the fact that she played this role kind of just makes me love her more, honestly. Because, you know, no harm, no foul if the movie's great and you represented him well, which she did. And, you know, I think she really understood. I think the whole cast really understood you know, what they were trying to say with the movie and the importance of it, even though it's not very popular. And, yeah, I just think it's amazing. And, you know, I have seen all of the main 3 actresses in so many other movies, and I love them all, so you just can imagine how much I love this one. And I just think the movie's great. It's feel good, again, I really love it, and I'll probably watch it again soon. And yeah, I love it. Definitely think you should watch it if you haven't yet. I think it's great. The first movie on the list, okay, the first movie, the top spot, is Disclosure, 1994, with Michael Douglas, Kiefer Sutherland's dad, and Demi Moore. I love this movie. Again, a movie that I watched for the first time in 2017. But the movies I just mentioned, all 4 of these are my top favorite movies in the world. And this one right here is the favorite. Like, if anybody asks me what my favorite movie of all time is, it's Disclosure. This movie is amazing, and it's very underrated too. I've never heard of it. No one ever talks about it. Michael Douglas is a very A-list, very popular actor, and I never hear anyone talk about that movie, not even him. So, I love it, and I think the reason why I think people not liking it or not really knowing about it is something that makes me love it even more. The movie is about this guy, and he is basically going to his, he's about to get promoted in his place of work, and all of a sudden, this woman from his past that he used to date comes into the company and scoops the position out from under him. And basically he's very disoriented and he's wondering why this happened. It turns into this thriller, suspenseful, scandalous, very, I don't know what to call it. I just think it's amazing, and it turns into a lot of stuff. Like, it's like, you know, it starts off as one thing and then just spans into this whole other stuff. I just think the movie's great, honestly. I love the movie a lot, and I think it is just great. Because it's very sexy. It's the word I use to describe it first and foremost. But it's also very, very important, I think. I think it calls into question a lot of things that people don't think about a lot, and in a way that is not seen a lot either. I think the movie's great. I don't want to spoil it at all because I didn't know anything going in, but I just think it's amazing. I love the acting, obviously, is great. But the storyline's great, and the things that it talks about is great. And I just love the movie, and I really can't say anything else without spoiling it. But I really think anybody, like everybody, should watch this. I genuinely believe that the world would be a better place if more people watched and truly understood the story that this is trying to tell. And not even the story, but the things that the story kind of is propelled and kind of based off of. Because it really calls a lot of things into question. I think those things are important and should be talked about more. I think the movie's amazing. Like, I'm getting all, you know, philosophical here. But I think the movie's great anyway. You know, I think it's great on all levels. And I think it's hilarious. It's like a perfect blend of every single thing in the world that I love. And I'm 100% serious about that. So if you like things like that, definitely watch it. A lot of those 90s, like, sexual thrillers, like, Basic Instinct, Fatal Attraction, all Michael Douglas movies. I love him. He's one of my favorite actors. But yes, I think all those movies are great, but this one is the best one because it actually brings up a pretty good conversation. But yeah, watch it. So those are my favorite movies of 2019. I mean, wow, I said it again. I said it. Those are my favorite movies of all time and 2020 because I watched them this year. If all time would be a little different, but those top 4, all time. Top 6 actually all time because Loverboy is definitely number 6 on the list. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I've never talked about movies much on this channel, and I really hate that because movies are my life. And I'm glad that I started this year because this year I watched so many new ones. And as you can tell, a lot of the ones that are my favorite, well, not a lot of them, but like the ones that have become my favorites, I watched this year. So I definitely think you should watch every single movie on this list. I told you what it's about. That's all you gotta do. Go look it up, watch it. I love you all. If you have favorite movies or you've seen any of these, please tell me in the comments. All of these are underrated. Like, almost all of these are underrated. Especially if you go higher on the list. So definitely tell me if you watched them and liked them in the comments, or if you didn't. Let's talk. I love you all. See you later with another video. Stay tuned for the rest of my favorites, because there are 2 more coming. Bye.